Hi guys, thank you so much for supporting the fact that I wanted to do videos on mental illness. I just really wanted to thank you guys because I was really nervous about doing it, and surprise, it gave me anxiety. Who would have thought? I'm going to start with all the mental illnesses that I actually have because I 100% understand them, and it will give me time to actually do more research on the ones I don't understand. Also, I am unable to edit my videos right now, so it's gonna be kind of rambling here and there, and my videos will get better as I go. I promise. Like, I'll be able to edit them and cut out some of the ramblings I do, because I have a tendency to kind of talk fast. And if you have any questions, I'd love any input you guys have as well, because I know a lot of the people that are watching these are watching them because they either have the disorder themselves or they know somebody dealing with it and they want to understand it a little bit better. So there's different types of anxiety. There's separation anxiety, there's phobia anxiety, there's social anxiety, there is generalized anxiety disorder, which is general anxiety. And then there are also agoraphobia, which is actually an anxiety. It is connected to anxiety. So there's all kinds of different types of anxiety diagnosis, and a lot of times, even if you have a phobia anxiety, you're still going to be diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder. And they come in different tiers. Like, you can have excessive generalized anxiety disorder, you can have you know yeah, anxiety gets me. I've been having anxiety about doing these videos. I'm not usually one to really put myself out there like this, so it's new for me. So be kind, please. So I figured I would actually start with separation anxiety, and I will be kind of like studying through paper because I did take down notes, because I don't want to give false information. I don't want to falsely present the illness, because we want people to understand it. We don't want to have them to have false information. So I figured we'd start with separation anxiety. You've probably heard of separation anxiety, especially if you have kids, because they go through it in multiple parts of their life. One part of, and separation anxiety basically is an excessive fear of being away from the people you love, which children get that, especially very young children. They get, excessive anxiety from being away from their mom and their dad, because that's all they've known. And also, they have constant, like, excessive thoughts when they're away from the people that they love, afraid that something terrible is going to happen to them. And that can range from, oh my gosh, they're going to fall down and I'm not going to be able to help them, to, oh my gosh, while I'm not there, a car's going to come, it's going to hit them, and they're going to be splattered all over the road, and I'm not going to be there to save them. And when you have separation anxiety, you don't want to sleep or stay away from home or your loved ones, because, again, that impending fear that something is going to happen to them while you're not around and you won't be there for it. Not wanting to go somewhere without that loved one. So while generally it's thought of with young children, what people don't realize is that 6% of older adults have separation anxiety as well. And I say 6%, and that's broad, because a lot of it goes undiagnosed because of the super awesome healthcare system we have in America for those mentally ill patients and those who cannot properly afford healthcare. That's a whole other video, though. So we talked about separation anxiety. I just wanted to put it out there because a lot of people don't realize that there are adults, a lot of adults, who actually have separation anxiety. And when a lot of people hear about separation anxiety, they think about it as a child's thing, but it's really not. Like, literally, there's a 1 to 2 adults in their adulthood are going to have separation anxiety of some sort. It may not be as excessive as the, oh my gosh, they're gonna die if I'm not with them, or I'm gonna die if I'm not with them kind of thing. A lot of it is, maybe that's kind of how we chalk it up to, oh, I miss them. But it's like that, but 10 times more. And then I also wanted to touch base on a phobia anxiety. So phobia anxiety is like agoraphobia, aerophobia, acrophobia. Acrophobia is a fear of heights. Agora, sorry, not agoraphobia. Aerophobia is a fear of flying. Everyone knows what arachnophobia is, fear of spiders. That is actually considered a anxiety disorder. And usually when you're having an anxiety disorder, they're all pretty much the same symptoms. Racing excessive thoughts, shortness of breath, difficulty breathing, sweaty palms, sweaty forehead, coughing, which people don't really realize that a human response a lot of times to anxiety is coughing, which is super dangerous right now. Don't do it at the store. But there's also, uncontrollable crying, not being able to. Some people actually get anxiety so bad they literally cannot move. And it would be like temporary paralysis due to an anxiety disorder. That is really common. And another one no one really talks about is the anger that comes with anxiety. You're angry at your anxiety. You're angry at yourself for having anxiety. You're angry at the things that caused you anxiety. And it's not always easy to just pick up all that baggage and store it away in the good old brain, While some people can do that, a lot of people don't, because they're not taught the necessary tools, because again, they don't have access to the proper mental health care, which would be therapy and stuff like that. And then we'll move on to social anxiety. I think a broad spectrum of people know what social anxiety is. It's the fear of being out in large crowds, sometimes even smaller crowds. A fear of, when you're out with those people, they're talking about you, they're looking at you, and if they look at you, oh my gosh, they must definitely be thinking, where did she get that outfit? Or where did he get that outfit? Or did he really have to wear that necklace? Did she really look at me? And all of these thoughts are actually in our head, because we all know a lot of times the world doesn't revolve around us, but in our anxiety brain with social anxiety, it does. We have the immense fear of being judged, thinking that people constantly don't like you, or thinking that people are constantly talking about you, thinking that they're out to get you. And the reactions to that are the same. Most anxiety have these same symptoms with a little bit of different thought process behind it. Like you can tell that the difference between social anxiety and separation anxiety is the thought process. With social anxiety being, oh my gosh, if I go out in public, people are gonna make fun of the way I dress. They're gonna talk about this, they're gonna talk about that. They're gonna say that, what is she wearing? Why did she come here? We didn't want her here. We just invited her to be nice. The constant fear that they don't really want you around, or nobody wants you around, and which really is really hard for people with social anxiety, for the simple fact that that keeps them a lot of time kind of alienated from society. And they're not alienated because they don't want to be a part of that, because they really do, more than anything. But due to their anxiety, they are unable to do it. And then you got your generalized anxiety disorder, where just general things give you anxiety, like checking the mail or going to a party, which, is also considered social anxiety. So they have all these different tiers of anxiety. I'm not really 100% sure why. Maybe it's because we feel the need to put a diagnosis label on everything, because a lot of times, while the thought process changes, it's still the same end game, the same symptoms, while not everybody has the exact same symptoms. My anxiety is often anger. I get so angry. And that's also connected to my other mental illnesses, which we will touch base on later. I think that I'm using the word too much, which you can judge me on. It's okay. I understand. And I know most of the people that I know have anxiety, especially right now. We are living in a whole new world where everything is changing every day. Every day, everything's different. You know, you wake up one day and you're allowed to go outside, and the next day you woke up and you weren't allowed to go anywhere. And now we're wearing masks everywhere, which gives which gives people another sense of anxiety, especially those with claustrophobia. If you have claustrophobia, which isn't part of anxiety because it is a phobia, and you have to wear a mask, that can be terrible for your mental health, terrible for your mental state, which usually anxiety leads to depression, which is why anxiety is usually a underdiagnosis. It's like a base diagnosis. Well, if you have anxiety, you definitely probably have depression because anxiety can cause depression. So that's what I've read. I could be wrong. And if I'm wrong, I would love to know I'm wrong, so you can tell me and show me the links and stuff. And as we go on, I'll have links to where I get all my information so you guys can check it out yourself. I just didn't really have time for that yet. Like I said, I'm just getting started and really want to see how many people are going to watch this before I just get all the way in. And also, it's Christmas, so, you know, I'm pretty busy. Everyone's pretty busy because, yeah, Christmas time. Which Christmas is actually another thing that gives a lot of people anxiety. A lot of people who don't even experience anxiety get really bad anxiety during Christmas. Am I going to get this person enough? Oh my God, what if they get me a gift and I don't get them a gift? And all of that. Like, I feel like anxiety is so much a part of everybody, everywhere, all the time. And a lot of people who don't have anxiety or don't realize they have anxiety don't understand it. They're like, oh, well, that's irrational. You seem fine on the outside, per most mental illnesses, right? Oh, well, you seem fine on the outside. Well, yeah, it's because I don't have an illness you can see. My illness is in my head. And that's pretty much like fighting yourself all the time. You are constantly fighting yourself in your head. And there are ways to actually help yourself with anxiety. There's treatments and there's medications. A lot of those medications are benzos. So you got your Xanax, you got Xanax, Valium, and clozapam. However, usually the treatments for anxiety are also very addictive. And if you're an addict and you're facing anxiety, you obviously cannot take those medications because, well, you're an addict and they're addictive. Not only are they addictive, they are also one of the few drugs on the market that can kill you from withdrawal. A lot of people don't talk about that. And I think that's important that people know that drug addiction is often, almost always connected to mental illness. I mean, not always, but most cases, people who are drug addicts do have mental illness, and a lot of times it starts with anxiety. So I think that for me, my anxiety affected me worse when I was younger. Well, I wouldn't say that it affected me worse when I was younger. I wasn't equipped to deal with it. I didn't have the necessary mental tools I needed to actually deal with my anxiety. Back then, my panic attacks looked like me on the floor in a ball, crying uncontrollably, unconsolably. And if you touched me or you tried to help me, it would make it 10 times worse. I needed to just be left alone, let me do my thing, cry it out in the corner, shake it out a little bit, and eventually it'll pass. Now, I've done a lot of therapy, years and years and years of therapy, and I discovered that I have tools now to deal with it. I can kind of help myself rationalize when my brain starts going down that excessive thinking. Oh my God, this person's gonna leave me, or oh my gosh, something terrible is gonna happen to everybody I love, because that's the kind of anxiety I have. My son leaves the house and I constantly worry, oh my gosh, what if today's the day I get that call? Which realistically, he walks to work and walks home. It's literally 5 houses down. So irrational. And sometimes I'm able to rationalize that thought. Sometimes I can't sleep because it keeps me up until he gets home. You know, another part of my anxiety is fear of abandonment, like always afraid that people are going to leave me, which stems from my childhood. I feel like that's true for a lot of situations, you know. The immense fear of abandonment causes extreme anxiety. And for me, it's literally every day I feel like that. Every day I feel like one day I'm going to wake up and everyone I love is just going to leave me because I'm not worth sticking around for. I'm not worth being around. They deserve so much better than me. They deserve, you know, more love, more gifts, more, you know, anything. And I think being a parent when you have anxiety is really hard. You know, not to mention the anger part, but also the part where you have this immense fear that something's going to happen to them on a constant basis. Ember is now 3 years old, and what a lot of people don't realize is that I still have a video baby monitor because I am terrified that there's a possibility somebody could crawl in her window and take her in the middle of the night. Insane. I understand that. I get it. But my irrational brain doesn't get it. It's like, no, this is gonna happen. While my rational brain is like, no, really, it's not. So it's basically fighting yourself in your head constantly, which most mental illnesses are. It is a fight within yourself. Because you're not really fighting other people, you're fighting you. My cat is gonna come say hi. You know, and if you guys want me to touch on this more, I totally can. I can do even more research on different other types of anxiety and stuff like that. This video is kind of going to be a little bit shorter than I wanted it to be because I still have to rep presents and I work like an hour away all week. So, I kind of got to rep presents and get in bed soon because if I don't get those done, I'm gonna probably have a panic attack because, oh my gosh, I failed. Because that's anxiety. You feel like you're a failure. You feel like you can't, you know, because you can't get everything you want to get done in a day. Which, you know, let's be honest, a lot of us put a lot of unrealistic expectations on ourselves. We expect ourselves to be the super girlfriend, the super wife, the super mom, the super employee. And I feel like everyone kind of holds themselves to a higher standard, but I feel like when you have anxiety, it's worse because you are constantly trying to achieve this level of absolute perfection you've created in your mind, and you can never get there because that level of perfection does not exist. It doesn't exist. You have unrealistic expectations of yourself, which causes even more panic and anxiety because at the end of the day, you set out with all of these goals that you know you can't possibly reach in a 12-hour period. Because let's be honest, not everybody's up 24 hours. Oh, hi, kitty. And I think I say a lot. I'm sorry. It's a nervous thing. Let's see. I feel like I'm forgetting something. Don't worry. I'll probably have anxiety like, oh my god, did this video suck? Did I not give enough information? Did I not talk enough? And like I said, I am totally willing to do a second video to touch on it again. This is my first time, so I'm really nervous. I'm hoping as it goes, I'll get less nervous and be able to maybe create better videos where I'm not so running off the train so much. And I know a lot of you guys have anxiety, especially we had talked about a little bit about COVID, but I didn't finish because I ramble and I'm kind of all over the place right now. I feel like as I go on, as I know more people and are going to watch this, which I really hope that that's what happens. I'm hoping it'll also get more interesting. Maybe I'll find something to do while I'm doing these videos. Who knows? But for now, I'm going to set realistic expectations for myself so this doesn't feel like a chore. And I don't feel like I failed at that too, because when you have anxiety and you feel like you have failed, you quit. You don't keep trying. You quit. And you know, a lot of people will be like, oh, well, you're just a quitter. You're just not trying. Like, no, I tried. And then I mentally beat myself down so much that mentally I can't get back up and do that again. Hello. So I think maybe Anxiety is different for everybody. You know, some people do have the excessive sweating, the racing thoughts, the fear of impending doom. And I think anybody really gets that sense of impending doom. Like anything can happen at any moment, any tragedy could strike, especially right now with COVID going on. I think COVID has really, you know, done wonders for opening up mental health. Unfortunately, it had to be in such drastic measures of losing so many people due to suicide because of depression and anxiety and not being able to take the new, what is considered the new norm. Sorry about that. My cat's getting a little frisky. And I think that this new norm we live in, where we're supposed to stay away from each other and we're not supposed to talk and we're not supposed to hang out and, you know, we're not supposed to hug and we're not supposed to give high fives. And I think that's really hard because when you have anxiety, it's a I love you, don't touch me, come hug me situation. I don't want you, you know, I don't want you to touch me too much, but, you know, come cuddle me. But then once you cuddle me, I don't want you to touch me because it makes me feel weird. Not everybody gets that either. It's just, you know, when I'm in one of my anxiety-ridden moods, I don't want to be touched because I'm stuck in this downward spiral of thoughts. And like I said, they can get pretty dark. And you know, here's the other thing is, you know, you hear so much about suicide being linked to depression. Suicide can also be linked to anxiety. Just anxiety, not depression. Because anxiety, like I said, also comes with that thing like, oh my gosh, I'm such a failure. You know, if everybody else can get up in the morning and brush their hair and not be afraid to walk out the door, why shouldn't I? Which brings me to another one, agoraphobia. A lot of people don't, you know a lot of stuff about me, and some people do. You guys know that my cousin Nikki had been murdered in 2009, and it was pretty brutal. It was pretty bad, and we were very, very close. Now, here's a part that a lot of people don't know, because I don't really share this with a lot of people. My cousin is the one who called. My other cousin was the one who called me to tell me about it. But what he didn't know is I had had this dream for 3 days before I had found out she had been murdered, that something terrible was happening to her, and she was screaming for my help, and I couldn't find her. For days that was going on, and I'm like, no, I'm just losing my mind. I'm losing my mind. And then it was 3 days later after I started having the dream, and it took that my cousin called me and told me she had been found murdered. And it was pretty brutal. After that, I had gotten diagnosed with agoraphobia. I was afraid to leave my home. Absolutely terrified. Every night I was up checking the doors, windows, and locks over and over again. No matter how many times I locked them, I had to check again. I was afraid something terrible was going to happen to me because something terrible had already happened to somebody I loved so much, and cared about so much. And while, you know, a lot of people that are going to see this are going to know that me and her had lost touch, and you know, we had tried to get her help. We had, you know, done things to try to help her. Everybody in my family had tried to take her in, get her to move in with us, tried to get her off her drugs and stuff like that. And, you know, here's another thing a lot of people don't know, because in these videos, I want to be totally candid. I don't want to sit here and lie and hide stuff, because this is honestly, hopefully, as helpful as it is to you, it is also very helpful to me. I felt responsible for her death. I felt like I didn't do enough. I felt like I didn't help enough. And I felt like the reason why she went down the path she did was because of me. Because growing up, neither one of us really had parents. We didn't have parents telling us, you know, what's right from wrong. And, you know, you would think, oh, generally, well, you should know right from wrong. But we're teenagers, and when you're a teenager, your frontal cortex does not develop. Your hormones and all of that develop, but your frontal cortex does not develop. So you are actually incapable of 100% making decent decisions. So, you know, and I was older than her, so I was her big influence, and we, you know, we did do drugs and stuff together, and so I blame myself for the longest time. It took me 5 years of therapy to finally get over that, and in that bout, I, you know, had gotten agoraphobia. I couldn't leave my house. I physically could not. I did not want to get out of bed. I didn't want to move. And you know, that's also lumped in there with depression. Like, I'm gonna do another video on that. And at that time, I was lucky enough to have my friend Jess. My friend Jess, she was my best friend at the time, and she had picked me up from my own self-destruction. And you know, I actually still kind of have bouts of the agoraphobia. I just, after lots of therapy, have found when I'm heading in that direction how to talk myself out of it. And a lot of people don't have that. A lot of people are not able to do that. And so I was very fortunate. And, you know, agoraphobia is a hard one because while you fear leaving your house and you fear going out, you want to so bad. You want to be out there with the people you love, and you want to go see your friends, but you just physically and mentally cannot do it. You cannot, because the moment you step past that threshold, you feel like the entire world is going to implode on you, and you can't breathe, and you're sweaty, and you're exhausted. I was gonna try and make these videos a little bit shorter, but I'm not really sure how to cover it all and relate to everything in such a short video. Because I want people to understand that you're not alone in this anxiety. You know, not everybody, but a good percentage of America, especially right now, have anxiety. You're not alone, and it's okay to talk about it. It's okay to be like, hey, to tell your friends, hey, I'm sorry, I'm having a panic episode right now, and I can't really do anything. And it's okay to make plans and cancel them last minute. Yeah, people are gonna get mad. I mean, I've been on the end of the person. I am flaky. My anxiety makes me so flaky. Like, I'm like, oh yeah, totally, let's do that next week. Next Tuesday, I think we should all get together and go out to eat. And then Tuesday comes and you're like, you know, I'd much rather stay at home, so I don't think I'm gonna be able to go. And I feel like a lot of that times you make up lies as to why you can't go. And I feel like we shouldn't have to do that. We shouldn't have to lie and pretend that something else is going on because we have anxiety and we're having a panic attack and stuff like that. I feel like we should just be able to say, hey, my anxiety is at all-time high today. So for myself and my own mental health, I have to bow out of the situation. And I feel like the more we normalize mental health and normalize anxiety, and the more people hear about it, eventually it's going to be accepted. Now I do, you know, I know people who use that as a get out of, kind of a get out card, we'll say, where they, you know, they have anxiety, but it's not really as bad as you would think. And you're like, oh, well, you have mental illness, how can you say that? Because some people have a tendency to exaggerate or sorry about that, exaggerate or downplay even their anxiety, like, oh, it's not that bad, while they're out with their friends and inside they are absolutely panicking and they cannot wait to get home because then they can get home and cry. Yeah, I've been there. Again, I'm sorry I keep saying but it's my it's just what's happening. And I will try to replace it with a new word. We'll see what goes on. So, I'm losing my train of thought. I'm very tired. I haven't really gotten much sleep this weekend. I've had a lot going on with, you know, Christmas. And Christmas in itself is exhausting. We didn't even talk about the anxiety. We didn't really 100% touch on the anxiety that Christmas causes. Well, Christmas is supposed to be the happiest time of the year. Let's be honest. People are not nice. They're mean. I usually can go shopping normally and have anxiety and be okay, but for some reason, being out in the holiday season, I don't know if it's because it's so much more busy or people are so nasty and so rude. And you know, when you have anxiety and people are rude and nasty to you, you automatically think like, oh, it must be a problem with me. I must be the problem. I'm definitely the issue. And again, rationally, that's not true. But in our super rational anxiety brains, it is the absolute truth. So I'm going to end the video now. I'm not really sure what else I can say. If there's anything else that anybody thinks I can add, I will be more than happy to do it. If there's anything that I didn't cover that you want me to cover, I will totally do another video on it. If you think that, if you have even tips for me to make better videos, I am down, because I am super, super new at this. I have never even done videos or anything like that. I think the next video is definitely going to be about depression. I'm going to try and, like I said, I'm going to touch on all of the diagnoses I have had or have gotten, because I know those. And I'm not saying I'm an expert, because I'm not an expert, and I'm also not a therapist. I have to say that legally. I'm not a therapist. I do not have any psychological, license to teach any kind of psychology or anything like that. These are basically my experiences, my opinions, and stats that I've read off the internet that anybody can read. I probably should have led with that disclaimer, but since it's in there, we'll hope it passes and we'll see what happens. Please, 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 criticism, good, bad, whatever, I will take it and put it into my next videos. And I do plan on doing this for a little while, for me and for everybody else. So thank you for watching today, and I hope you guys have a good night, and I hope you are able to sleep, and I hope that maybe this video helped you feel not so alone in your anxiety. And I am even more willing to answer more questions about my personal anxiety and the things that have caused me anxiety if you guys would like to know. So thank you.